Chapter 7. Something Nasty in the Lift. Grandma Josephine had stopped screaming now. She had gone red with shock. The rest of the group by the bed, including Charlie and Grandpa Joe, had become still as stone. They dared not move. They dared hardly breathe. And Mr. Wonka, who had swung quickly around to look when the first scream came, was as dumbstruck as the rest. He stood motionless, gaping at the thing in the lift, his mouth slightly open, his eyes stretched wide as two wheels. What they all saw, was this. It looked more than anything like an enormous egg balancing on its pointed end. It was as tall as a big boy and wider than the fattest man. The greenish-brown skin had a shiny whitish appearance, and there were wrinkles in it. About 3/4 of the way up, in the wider part, there were two large round eyes as big teacups. The eyes were white, but each had a brilliant red pupils in the center. The red pupils had a brilliant red pupils in the red pupils were resting on Mr. Wonka. But now they began traveling slowly across Charlie and Grandpa Joe and the other by the bed, settling up them and gazing at them with a cold, malevolent stare. The eyes were everywhere. There were no other features, no nose, no mouth, no ears, but the entire egg-shaped body was itself moving very, very slightly, pursing and burging gently here and there as though the skin were filled with some thick fluid. At that point, Charlie suddenly noticed that the next lift was coming down. The indicator numbers above the door was flashing. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, L for lobby. There was a slight pause. The door slid open, and there inside the second lift was another enormous, slimy, wrinkled, greenish-brown egg with eyes. Now the numbers were flashing above all three of the remaining lifts. Down they came, down, 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 and soon, at precisely the same time, they reached the lobby floor, and the doors slid open. 5 open doors now. One creature in brilliant red countries were all watching Mr. Wonka, and watching Charlie and Grandpa Joe and the others. There was a slight difference in size, the shape between 5, but all had the same greenish-brown wrinkled skin, and the skin was rippling and pursing. For about 30 seconds, nothing happened. Nobody stirred. Nobody had made a sound. The silence was terrible. So was the suspense. Charlie was so frightened he felt himself shrinking inside his skin. Then he saw the creature in the left-hand lift suddenly started to change shape. Its body was slowly become longer and longer and thinner, going up and up toward the roof of the lift, not straight up, but curving a little to the left, making a snake-like curve that was curiously graceful, up to the left and down again in a half circle, and then the bottom end began to grow out as well, like a tail, creeping along the floor to the left, until at last the creature, which originally looked like a huge egg, now looked like a long curvy serpent standing up on its tail. Then the one in the left began stretching itself in much the same way. And what a weird and oozing thing it was to watch. It was twisting itself into a shape that was a bit different from the first, balancing itself most but not quite on the tip of its tail. Then the three remaining creatures began stretching themselves all at the same time, each one elongating itself slowly upward, growing taller and taller, thinner and thinner, curving and twisting, stretching, curling and bending, balancing either on the tail or the head of both, and turned sideways now so that only one eye was visible. When they had all stopped stretching and bending, this was how they finished up. Scram! Scram! Shouted Mr. Wonka. Get out! Quick! People had never moved faster than Grandpa Joe and Charlie and Mr. and Mrs. Bucket at that moment. They all got behind the bed and started pushing like crazy. Mr. Wonka ran in front of them, shouting, Scram! 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 And the 10-second flat, all of them were out of the lobby and back inside the great glass elevator. Frantically, Mr. Wonka began undoing bolts and pressing buttons. The door of the great glass elevator snapped shut and the whole thing lifted sideways. They were away. And of course, all of them, including this third old one in the bed, floating up about into the air.